Hey, how you doing? It is Neil Milton here from Child Safe, and it is wonderful to have you joining us today for this free Facebook Live. Um, we wanted to let you know that we are so grateful for you joining us. Now, a special welcome to all of the kids out there, all of the children, because this is a bring your children to this event, because that is what the topic is going to be connected to. So, which is really, really exciting. My name's Neil. I'm the general manager of Child Safe, and Child Safe is a not-for-profit harm prevention charity. We work with organisations to prevent harm abuse of children. We help organisations to align with child safety standards, help them understand their legal requirements. And the other thing we do is we help educate parents to help better them to be the best parents they can be for their children in keeping them safe, and help educate them in what it means to be a mum and be a dad and be a carer and someone who really cares about their kids. And I know you do. So the first thing I want you to do is I want you to put in the comments on this live. I want you to put in the comments of where you're from. So where are you watching from? And also how many children you have. That'd be fantastic. Maybe a little emoji like a thumbs up or a sunshine or something like that. That would be absolutely fantastic. We know that we have a lot of people jumping on today, which I am so excited about this. And it's so good to see people wanting to learn about this particular topic. So wanted to say, yep. So put your name, put your how many children there and where you're from, which is great. It's great to see all the people from all over Australia, even the world. I heard that there's some people jumping in from USA as well. So the other thing I wanted to let you know is that you can go to our Facebook page after this as well, and you can add yourself to the group called Child Safe Australia for Parents, and that is a specific group for parents, and you can make sure that you can be part of that. We put educational tools on there. We put some funny stuff on there. We put some, I guess, challenging stuff on there as well. And so one thing is really important to do that. The other thing is that when this is over, you'll be able to view this on the Child Safe Australia Facebook page and also the childsafe.org.au /live, which is where you can see other lives that we've done. We do these every single month, and we get a lot of engagement because there's a lot of parents out there that really, really need the support and the help to help navigate this space. And I'm a parent as well of three incredible kids, and the reality is that that it's tough sometimes. Let's be honest. I'll put my hand up and say it's tough sometimes, but we all need each other's help and all need support. So that's what's really exciting. The other thing is that for us, we are a harm prevention charity, and a lot of people ask us, and this is why we tell you this, a lot of people say to us, hey, we love what you're doing with these parents, parent Facebook and making it free and those sorts of things. We want to help by donating. And so a lot of people say, how do we donate? So I'm going to let you know the link. It's childsafe.org.au /live. And down the bottom, there is a link there. You can donate. And you can give $10 or something like that if you want to, if you feel like you can. If you can't, maybe spread the word about Child Safe and how we're helping children. That would be absolutely fantastic. Well, we're just about to introduce our guest, but I want you to know that we are so thankful for you to be here, and it is absolutely great that we've got people all over Australia and also lots and lots of children. So let's introduce our incredible guest. He's the CEO and founder of Mindful Oz. His name is Matt Runnalls. Give it up for Matt. Give him clapping emojis. That'd be amazing. Woo! Hey, Matt, how you doing, man?
Good, mate. Grateful to be here, and what a way to spend the afternoon, talking about the things that matter to me and talking about the things that are important to all of us.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks so much for making the time for doing this. Now, the first thing we want to do is we want to say that there's actually going to be a giveaway that Matt's thought up. So we're going to get that in a second. But what we want you to do is we want you to we want you to share this live right now, tag people in it, and then go over to Mindful Oz and like that page, and you can go into the draw to win. Matt, what can they win?
We've got beanies, brand new beanies that have come in to keep us warm. They're the best beanie I've ever put on my head. So they're a big one. We've got lanyards, we've got stickers, and the most important thing, we've got our emotional cue cards that we give to libraries and schools all around Australia of all our emotions that are culturally sensitive, which is a really beautiful thing. So we'll package all of that up, and if we can get that out to you, we would love to see you rock and represent Mindful Oz and all these beautiful ways to positive messaging.
That'd be great. Yeah, so you just have to you have to share this particular live right now and tag some people, and then you can go into the draw to win that. And I'm sure the kids want to snuffle that beanie. I'm sure they want to take over that 100%. And the other thing I was going to say is that tonight is when we will draw that. So we'll make a choice of who's done that, and we'll get in touch with you via Facebook. So look out for Facebook around just after dinner time. So that'll be really great. Well, we're going to jump in this, but I did want to let people know that after this, we are actually going to have a Q&A, which is that opportunity where maybe some of your children want to ask the parents to make sure that they can ask a question or something like that. I mean, Matt is really good at answering questions, does a lot of work in primary schools, and there is actually an email address after this as well. Just give them that email address. It'll come up on the screen. What is it, Matt?
We've got admin@mindfuloz.org. Otherwise, we've got hello@mattrunnalls.com.au, which are both accessible to anyone at 24/7. And we're pretty accessible and pretty responsive. So we'd love to fulfill any questions and answers that anyone might have.
Yeah, fantastic. So, there's a lot of educators on this right now as well. And so you can actually book Matt and Mindful Oz to come in and run these sessions that we are sort of talking about today. For your primary school students. Now let's just, I guess, pave the way for a second here. The reality is that this year has been a tumultuous time, an absolutely tumultuous time. And not just that, it's been a tough time for children. And I think sometimes as parents, we don't really know how tough it actually is for children. And there's a lot of emotions, a lot of things that go along, and not just in a COVID time. And if you're in Melbourne, say hi. We are both in Melbourne as well, and it's still lockdown stage 4, so we can't go anywhere. We can't go out for more than an hour, and it's really tough. And I know that even my kids, they're struggling as well. And I'm sure that there are other children as well. So can you just kick us off with this first question? Can you name the most used emotions, and what's an easy way to help children describe them?
Yeah, so for those people that are out there listening to this right now and aren't familiar with the 5 core human emotions in the human face, which is from this book, Emotions in the Human Face by Paul Ekman, those gives the evidence behind everything that was put together for the movie, the Disney Pixar animation film Inside Out. So we look at those characters from Inside Out, and they're our core human emotions in the human face. So we have let's get the cue cards out. We got sadness, we got joy, we got anger, disgust, and we got fear. So you'll see those throughout the movie Inside Out, and they're our 5 core human emotions in the human face. However, the number 6 one is pink, and that's shock and surprise. So very important to understand what our emotions are and how we can identify them in each other, and what they look like differently on each other's face and in our behavior as well. So a good way to, I guess, helping our children describe these emotions, which is a big one for us, happens in 5 ways. So we talk about naming the feelings. And this looks like helping our children and helping the young champions around us name their feelings by giving them a label. Naming feelings, I guess, is the first step in helping kids learn to identify their emotions. So it allows your child to develop an emotional vocab so that they can talk about their feelings in their own safe way. I guess number 2, identifying feelings in others. So, we look at our children's books, we look at our superheroes, we look at the TV shows we watch. This provides a perfect opportunity to identify the feelings in everyone else. You might ask your child to reflect on what someone else may be feeling through a program, through a book, even identifying it in yourself when you're experiencing these emotions. And that's a really beneficial way for kids to start to understand and label and validate and recognize the feelings that they're going through, and know that every single one of them's really important and crucial to our development, our growth, and to being the best version of ourselves. So number 3 is being a role model. And kids are, well, beautiful, busy, intrigued little minds and beautiful little brains, and they imitate their role models, and they look up to us, and they're always watching. So really important that we're giving them the behaviors in which for them to mimic and to imitate. So we want to talk about our emotions and what we're feeling as their role models, and continue to provide safe spaces for them to feel supported in doing the things that mum and dad say about every single emotion that they experience. The next one, we want to talk about encouraging with praise. So again, we want to open up that safe space where they feel like the way in which they're advocating or talking about any of their core emotions is an appropriate way. Not only does it show that our feelings are normal and it's okay to talk about them, it reinforces the behavior. So they're likely to repeat that and continue to do so, which is really, really important. So all of a sudden, when we get to that point where we're encouraging it with praise and incentive to talk about our thoughts, feelings, emotions, we can remove that stigma behind it and the discomfort, and also the fact that it's sometimes scary to talk about our emotions. So right now, I mean, for a lot of adults, we see a lot of people recoil at the fear of talking about their emotions because it's deemed as a weakness and it's vulnerability. Whereas vulnerability is our birthplace of strength. It's where all the learning's done. It's where all the growth's done, and it's no way to live. I feel a lot lighter when I talk about my thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and I know it's the same for many other people out there. So we want to encourage every little champion listening. If you're going through some hard times and or a bit upset from time to time, it's very brave to share that with our trusted adults, whether that be with mum or dad, or whether that be at school with our wellness teams or teachers or principals or whatever that look like. And the last one, I guess, made in our 5 keys to talking about our emotions is listening to them and validating, like I said. So stay present and resist the urge to make your child's bad feelings go away just because you might be busy or you might have something on. It's about supporting our children to identify and express their feelings so that they are heard every single time. And we want to close those loops in the brain. So when we feel we're being ignored, it causes just as much trauma to the brain as a physical injury. So we really want to make sure that everything's validated and we talk about every single situation, because no matter how tough it is or how good it is, everything in life is carving us and crafting us into the beautiful person that we're meant to become. So all our emotions are really valid, and there's really easy ways in which we can talk about them and keep talking about them.
Yeah, that's great. Matt, that's fantastic. And it's so important, to help children describe their emotions. I'm just wondering, and I know you work in this space as well, but we're getting a lot of questions around ADHD and also autism and other conditions as well. And I'm just wondering, how does this kind of relate in that space as well? And is there a different technique that could be used around that?
Most importantly, it doesn't matter what the label is. I think we have to start showing up out of love for every single person and put our love glasses on, and not, I think what we see is a lot of people that are governed and taught and educated around a label that might be on the paper instead of the person that they truly are. I mean, we want to go in with a clean slate every single time. There's no such thing as naughty kids. There's no such thing as bad kids. There's no such thing as challenging kids. We have to start to look at every single person out there is beautiful just the way they are. And we need to encourage people to be more of themselves, believe in themselves and love themselves a little bit more, no matter their condition, situation, or challenge. Because as I said, we're all beautiful, have beautiful and meaningful and unique brains. And if we're all the same, the world would be a pretty dismal place. So I guess for that matter, we just want to be looking at people all the same. We just want to be treating people the same. We want to be appealing to a kid's learning techniques in all 3 ways: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic, so that each of us are processing things in a different way. So we want to stay engaged with our kids and make sure that they're getting the information they need the way they need it. And we need to talk to their learning and listen to their learning as well. So these are really big I guess, tips that I've used for a long time now in primary schools and in different programs that I go to. And that's the most important thing, mate, is just showing up out of love. And it's not going in there with this preconceived idea about what bipolar, autism, or anything like this looks like, because it's different for every single person. And so we need to treat each other with love and respect and kindness and empathy, rather than going in there and labeling people with an emotion.
So what you're really saying is that these kind of tools that you're giving can be used no matter what situation they're going through and what challenges that that someone is facing at any particular time. So let's just talk about that a little bit more. The second question I had for you is how can we use these emotional colours, these emotion colours, in a conversation with a child each day? And what kind of age would you stop using that method? I mean, like, is it a teenager? Is it younger? Like, how does it work? And how do we kind of help them? I mean, I'm guessing that helps to regulate emotions. So what does that look like?
Yeah, mate, everything's got to be purposeful. And as I said, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning for kids is really important. It's important for us as adults as well. So, do you want to
explain that, the visual, those three things just quickly?
Yeah, so visual learners, people that read things, auditory learners that hear things, and kinesthetic learners, people with hands-on. So big thing in our primary school, mate, and probably a point of difference, which is probably upsetting that more people don't jump on board and teach people in all these different ways, because it's the kid in the class that doesn't engage with the learning style, or he just doesn't get it. It starts to feel less. He starts to suppress his emotion because, I'm not learning as quick as everyone else, but yet it's just the learning style that he's not engaging with. So, this was a big one for me growing up, and you sit there and for many years blame yourself for the way in which things went. But when you look back, it's hang on a minute, I learned this way, and we're all very different. We all learn to all three styles, but however, we do have preferences. So, we work massively at Mindful Oz on creating a program that teaches kids in all three learning styles so that everyone's engaged, because it's the kid that doesn't engage with the program that, again, falls through the cracks and thinks less of himself when he's not, or she. So they're all beautiful people. They're all very unique, and their minds learn in different ways, and that's a very beautiful thing. So one of the interesting things that I was reading in some of my studies was, like, testing was done with a significant number of children about around the colours, and I wondered for a long time with Inside Out about how they come up with, fear being purple and disgust being green. And I was like, everything's got to be on purpose. There's got to be ways in which we've got to set a curriculum that this is what it looks like, so that these kids can navigate towards it, and we keep that same curriculum and conversation for everyone. And a big part of that was they did a big study. And in that study, they asked kids with a set of them 5 colors. Actually, they had all the ranges of colors, pencils. And they set the scene and did a play or a role play about an emotion, whether it be fear, anger, joy, disgust, or sadness. And they asked the kids to draw with the color that felt most appropriate to the emotion that they just felt. And what they were seeing was our yellow for joy, our oranges, our pinks were colors that made the kids happy. And whereas your reds, your greens, your purples, your blues were associated with the feelings of negativity. And so we have this perception that, sadness and fear as negative. We have this perception that anger is negative, whereas all these emotions aren't negative. They can become negative if we live with them for too long or don't action them. However, all of our emotions are very beautiful things, and they teach us how to become the person that we're meant to become. So, for instance, we use yellow, and we use yellow is a color for sunshine. It's joy. It brings happiness. That's where the sun is. And unfortunately, us Victorians don't get a lot of it. But
no, we don't.
Yellow is joy. It brings it's light as well. You can see my fingers through that glass. It's a very light color, and that's why it brings a lot of joy. So red, our blood boils. Red's fast, and so is aggression. We act out of impulse, and we act very sharply without thought. That's anger. There's purpose behind all of these emotions. We talk about green is disgust, and it's like for me, it's a vegetable, or it's mold, or it's like a snake. Most of these things are green, and disgust is keeping on the low end of the scale in terms of darkness to light, because disgust doesn't necessarily carry as much weight as what some of the other emotions do. We move into sadness, and won't drop one of these, is blue. And blue is often described as depression. Blue's like water. It's like our tears. It's crying. Some kids will talk about their emotions as sometimes they feel like, they're drowning in their emotions. Like it's hard to get the help and support they need, and it's all like weighs too much. And that's how they come about with these colors for each individual emotion. And then obviously you've got purple, and that'll probably look pretty dark here, but that's purple. Trust me. And fear is the darkest because of the dark. And that's what happens when we're scared or we're feeling anxiety or anything like that. But also when we're in shock or fear of something like a spider, we're in flight or fight mode, we freeze up. And when we freeze up, we're not breathing. And when we're not breathing, we're oxygenating our blood, which again is purple. So these all have purposeful meanings behind all of these colors in our emotions. So it's really important that we stay on track with the given given colors for the emotions, so that our kids grow up with the same understanding of what something looks like. Rating things from 1 to 10. Maybe we can start by rating them, how you're feeling on a scale of, our purples, blues, greens, reds, and yellows. And we've seen schools implement that into the curriculum, and it works really well. A lot of testing. We want kids to be able to associate these colors with their emotions that they're feeling and be able to go, hey, I work with kids that are young as 4 right now, and these kids are coming up to me and going, Matt, I'm feeling really purple today. And I said, to one example at a primary school I work with was Nate, and I'm feeling really purple today. And I was like, Nate, why are you feeling really purple? He's like, I fell over. But I also was worried that my friend wasn't going to come to school today, so I was feeling really purple. And then one young girl comes over and says, well, I know what to do in this situation to make you feel yellow again, Nate. And she gave Nate a hug. Like, these are the things where we need to change the dialogue around what it looks like to articulate our pain. Because what we see is a lot of adults get to the point where it's not necessarily that we don't want the help and support, or we don't want to talk about our thoughts, feelings, emotions. What it is we're aching to have someone to tell. And even when we get that person to tell our emotions to that wants to listen, we don't have any way of articulating them. We don't actually know what we're experiencing. So if we can change this dialogue from the earliest of ages to let these kids know that, hey, we can simply use a color to identify and express our emotions in a positive way.
Yeah, that's amazing. I just wanted to. I think that's really, really powerful. And I actually want to do something right now. So, parents, this is for your children, okay? So, children, what we want you to do is we want you to write down the color that you're feeling right now, okay? And I want you to tell your mum, and maybe mum or dad can write it in the comments for us. That'd be really good. We want to find out how you're feeling right now. Maybe it's about lockdown. Maybe it's about COVID. Maybe it's about that you're sitting next to mum and she makes you feel really great. I don't know what it is. But I'd love you to just put that in. We'll put some comments up, okay? So just make sure that you tell us what are you feeling? What is it that you're feeling right now? What color? So you've got what colors again? We've got
red for anger. We've got purple for fear. We've got blue for sadness. Green for disgust. And what I missed the most important now, yellow for joy.
And green?
Disgust.
Okay. Yeah, someone said, is that nature and healing? Well, it could be, I guess, but in this situation, it's actually about disgust, because it's about emotions, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's a really great point. I mean, as I've done plenty of work as an adult now on personal development, and as we get older, that emotional literacy and the colors associated change. So green, as I get older now as an adult, and I've done a lot of personal development, is for growth. Green is the color for growth. It's where things grow. So yeah, very good pickup, and 100%. This is where the dialogue needs to shift, and even as adults, we can start to understand what the color emotions refer to within our lifestyle and our challenges and situations.
Yeah. So that's actually really important, I reckon, because what you're saying is, as a child, you use these colors for explaining your emotions, but then as you grow into more of an adult, even late teenager, you might use them to describe where you're heading or what you're going through or whatever it is. Maybe not be emotion, but it might be the action that you're attached to it. Yeah. And it's interesting. We are getting a lot of blues. So I want to address that. That's really important. And I want to actually talk about this third question, because I want to keep this moving. Thanks again for all the questions in the comments. Make sure you please do that. That'd be great, because we're going to have a Q&A after, and your kids might have some questions, and that's okay. The third question we had was, when as parents, right, we say to our children, "Oh, don't feel that," or "You don't really feel that, do you? You don't feel angry, do you? Or you don't feel embarrassed, do you? Whatever it is." Hey, how does that impact a child? I mean, I know this is one of those things, and children are listening right now and going, "Hey, mum and dad, I've heard you say that to me. So can you listen up? So right now, can you do that?" So can you explain this, Matt?
Yeah, I think really important. But firstly, if you do feel guilt, it's always the right time to do the right thing. And, we're only as good as the information we know in the moment that we need it. So this is what this is all about. And by all means, that's growing. That's green coming through now. So yeah, it's so important, mate. The last thing we want to do is send a message that we don't care about their feelings. So we want to try and avoid the things like you mentioned that, stop that whinging, or there's something always wrong with you, or don't you dare lose your temper. I thought you were a big boy. Big boys don't cry. All these things will result in our children forming a belief that they are not only not worthy of our attention, and a dialogue that has them believing that emotion is weakness. So, big boys don't cry. All of a sudden, they believe that sadness is doom and gloom. They believe that we shouldn't do it and we shouldn't be associated with it. That's not what we want. We want to change the dialogue to understand. For anyone who's watched Inside Out, go watch the most important character in that movie is sadness. Yeah. Sadness gives a proper perspective of joy. That helps us understand what we don't want to be around. Same as what anger does. So all of these things are really valid emotions, so we need to feel them and validate them. So, everybody feels emotions. All emotions are positive action signals for change and growth. We want to feel them. We also want to acknowledge them and learn from them. So we don't want to be forcing people to suppress them because we don't have the time, or we're not in the mood, or we don't want to deal with it right now, because down the track, we're going to get to the point where we're going to create a lot of low self-esteem, lack of confidence, self-worth will be missing, trust, no value for the person and the beautiful person that we are for ourselves, and a whole plethora of challenges that stem from suppressing our emotion. So, as much as we're in this rat race of the world right now, and it's all very busy, and do, we need to slow down and pay attention to everything that we experience, both for ourselves and for our children, and action them. As I said, we go through so many thoughts and feelings and emotions. They're not meant to be ignored or suppressed. They're meant to be going, hey, there's an emotion. Why do I feel it? Can I grow from this? Can I better myself from this? Can I remove the situation? Whatever the learning is, and then you get rid of it. And you want to do that with all your thoughts and feelings, so that you grow up and become stronger and become the person that you're meant to become. Because by suppressing all these emotions, as I said, it only continues the stem of the flow, and we end up being or acting out on these emotions somewhere down the track in a really unhealthy way.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you in that, because I think that's really, really important, because, like I put my hand up and I have said that before. I have said, you don't feel that, or you don't feel this, or whatever it is. Come on, why are you happy with us? Like, this is family time, or whatever it is, or you're not depressed, or, and I am sorry, and I've apologized for that to my children. And it's about letting them feel what they're feeling. I'm just wondering, with the colors side of things, we've got a question from Amit, and they've said that why can't they just say, I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling broken, or I'm feeling disgusted, or I'm feeling this? Is it that children don't have the capacity always to communicate those emotions with words, and colors give a way of, because sometimes you might have a card, right? You might say, hey, I'm feeling red, or I'm feeling blue. And one of the things that people could do in the home, in the family, is, the children could, they could do an exercise together, and they could cut up some cards and say, hey, today I'm feeling this, and that's where you could work out what kind of support that is. Can you explain a little bit more of that?
Yeah, I think it's really important because I think we nailed it in the question that you asked. We have never built the understanding and the vocab around how to express these emotions. Of course, we want these kids to say what they're truly feeling. These things that aren't the 5 core emotions, like broken, or I'm exhausted. We want all these things to come out. However, a lot of our kids at these early ages, and I'm talking to the real young ones tonight, and in our primary school program as early as 3 and 4, about these 5 core emotions, and using the color schemes to go with it, just so that we can start to build something, and we build on that through our program. So you want to start at the very earliest of interventions and start with the different color codes, and then you want to navigate that conversation and continue to step it up, where purple becomes anxiety, and you start to talk about the different vocab that surrounds anxiety. Blue will turn into depression if it's left alone for long enough, and all the emotions together will turn into depression if we leave them long enough. We want to start to articulate these things, but we have to start somewhere. So it has to start with the most easiest way for these kids to get these things off their chest, and that's by using their colors. They know their colors and they learn them in prep, whereas they might not have the vocab to understand what sadness actually truly is. I mean, I still do a lot of workshops and programs with corporates all around the world that don't know what sadness and happiness really is. So, we have to change the culture around what this looks like for society, and we have to change the narrative around these beautiful emotions, because sadness is not it's not a negative emotion. Fear and anger they're not negative emotions. So we have to change our culture as a society, and it starts with all of us. But we just want to get new young champions out there learning to express their emotions in a very, very easy way, and then we just continue that conversation onwards.
So what we want to say, actually, to these amazing children that are watching, hi guys and girls, we want you to know that your emotions are valid and you can feel what you feel, but there are ways that you express them, and they need to be making sure that it's not about hurting someone else or hurting yourself. And also it's a journey towards talking about deeper things like depression, anxiety, any mental health concerns, those sorts of things. But this is actually beginning that pre-conversation so that when you do get to those, it doesn't become oh my goodness, we've never talked about this before. It's actually, sadness. Okay, sadness can lead to that if it's not worked on. I think that's really, really powerful. Matt, probably one of the toughest questions, and it might be quite tough for kids to hear at times, but the reality is that parents do argue sometimes at home, and I know that some parents and children live in an unsafe environment actually, where it's unhealthy in many ways because arguing is almost the norm in the house. I did want to make sure we address this because this is super important. Yeah. What impact can seeing parents argue and fight in the home have on a child's emotions and their mental health?
Yeah, really, really important question, mate. And, I think, again, to build some schema around this question, conflict is normal and it can be healthy. So it's whether parents fight. It's not whether parents fight or don't fight that's important here. It's how the conflict is expressed and resolved, and especially how it makes children feel that has the important consequences for them following on down the track. So, watching conflict can be a positive experience, and it could be the exact model behavior that we need to see and feel, because we're going to grow up in this world and we're going to experience challenges. Life isn't easy, never has been, never will be, but it is simple when we put the time and effort into ourselves and working out what we should do in each situation, because we're going to come into these challenges. We're going to come into conflict as we grow up and older. So it's worthy seeing some of this stuff as long as it's been done in the right way. And, verbal aggression, name calling, insults, threats, physical aggression, these might be the solution, like walking off and sulking or slamming the door and withdrawing. These might be the solution at the time, but they're not the positive results that our children need to witness. So when parents repeatedly use hostile strategies with each other, some children become really distraught. They become worried, anxious. We talked about fear. Others may react outwardly with anger. These are where these things start to develop. As I said before, our kids show us the true meaning of life, and that's to have energy, to bounce, to create, to have an imagination. They are little sponges, and they will soak up everything that they see from their role models, and you are their role models. So it's important that we're imitating the really good behavior for them to witness. So we don't want to, as I said, there's really positive experiences in witnessing conflict, because we can see how mum and dad deal with it in a positive way. We can see that mum and dad, okay, they didn't raise their voice, they were civilized in their conversations, they expressed their emotions, and they met in the middle for a solution. It wasn't he said, she said, argue, argue, argue. What it was a really civilized discussion where both parties had some really good points, and hey, at the end of the day, we operate out of love and empathy, support, compassion, and care for each other. And that's what we want our children to be going on and doing following. So, where there's lots of research on not only household conflict, but one of the studies that I witnessed was on research on a household conflict with thousands of kids, and the kids registered as young as 6 months old. So we have to be really mindful of our behavior when we're around anyone in the world, but especially around our kids. So those studies showed that when the kids registered this emotion at 6 years old from the conflict within a house, by the time that they were in year 7, those kids were far more insecure, far more sensitive, and they had big adjustment issues. So, we look at external environments like not conflict for such, but you look at any trauma and how it impacts kids. You look at the Black Saturday, 24,000 kids were tested or went in a study who went through experienced Black Saturdays. By primary school, they had fallen behind and had a long-lasting impact on their academic performance. So it's traumatic for these kids to experience unresolved conflict and trauma, and that's what these things are. COVID, exactly. We can't sugarcoat things. We don't want to cotton wool things, and we don't want to bubble wrap things. But what we want to do is make sure that any trauma, any conflict, any challenges that arise in the world, that we're, as I said, meeting in the middle, having solutions around them, having positive conversations around them, to let you know what the world is doing and how we can be in this time. The kids are exposed to everything these days, so we really need to just prioritize what's really important, and that's our narrative behind it and our dialogue about how we can express that in positive ways, because essentially, it's building that resiliency and stress from a really young age by making them aware about these things, but knowing the real positives of how we can come through this and create magic and dance with the challenges and the situations that we've been through or seen, because it's going to happen. It really is.
Yeah, and the truth is, now more than ever, I think, parents are a little bit more at each other and maybe even taking out of their frustration on children and those sort of things. And even though that's not right, the reality is if parents are willing to show their emotion, actually explain their emotion, and maybe they use colours or whatever it is, then that helps children to be able to regulate those emotions as well and help them to actually navigate that. Because I've heard it said, and I could be wrong, but I've heard it said that when a child acts out or shows that type of emotion, there's actually probably a reason underneath that. I know that sometimes when my children act out, we actually know that maybe there's something else going on. And I think, often what the children see may not actually be the real thing when it comes to, what's really going on with parents. And so, yeah, now everyone just stand up for a second and just stretch, shake it out. We know children's attention span is quite small in some adults as well. But if you like what you're hearing, make sure you put a thumbs up or something else that describes that, a clap or something like that. Because I know that we can't really interact so much, but you can use those amazing emojis and even colors, whatever you want to do. That'd be great. I just wanted to address a couple of other things, and then we will get into our Q&A. We're starting to get a big pile of questions here, so which is fantastic. If we just want you to know that if we don't get to all the questions, then Matt and myself will go through the questions after the live and answer those on the live feed anyways, so that we'll be able to, you'll get what we've got there. So I just wanted to also let you know that to go in the draw to win a special Mindful Oz pack, do you want to hold that up one more second? That'd be good. It's got a beanie in it. It's got the cue cards, all those sorts of things. You can go into the draw by sharing this live, liking it, tagging people, and also going over to Mindful Oz and liking that, and you go in the draw for that. So let's get into this last question, and this is for you, children. So are you there? Just give us a wave or something to say that you're there. But this is the last question before our Q&A, and here it is. How can we help children to be intuitive, and how can they be intuitive to other people's emotions? How can children support children in this? Because the reality is they are in the schoolyard with their children more than the parents are with the children, if you like, and even with the parents, even with the teachers as well. And so how do children get aware of other people's emotions and how they can help each other in that? Because I know that's something you're super passionate about, and in your programs in schools, they can actually learn about that as well. Tell us about how that happens and how they can do it.
Yeah, I think what's really important is that we all understand and go through emotions that are completely different to the next person. How you perceive snakes and spiders might be completely different to how I perceive them. Vegetables to food to everything. So the way someone feels an emotion is going to be completely different to the next person. And that's a beautiful thing, as I said before. So firstly, it's understanding that no two emotions look the same on each person. So how we can help each other is the human being is fundamentally wired for love, belonging, and connection, contribution, growth, creativity. Yeah, there's a few
Can
other
you
things
say
in
that
there.
really slowly?
Yeah,
Love.
love, belonging, and connection. So if you learn anything or take anything away from tonight, is that the human being is wired, fundamentally wired, the human condition for love, belonging, connection. So if we show up, this is for adults, this is for kids, this is for every single person in this world right now. The true meaning of life is to live in the betterment of others. So if we all show up in the betterment of others and we all show up with love, belonging, connection, which we all possess unlimited amounts of, it is free. We need to spread that stuff like confetti. So we show up every single day with these things that make people feel love, feel belonging, and feel connected. When we see a disconnection between any of those things, that's where we see a lot of mental illness being expressed. So what we need to do is provide those spaces, those safe spaces for kids to feel supported. But for kids to help other kids, it's all about how do we fill that joy cup up for everyone? How do we fill that up? And I mean, I don't know how much time I've got on the clock here, but I don't know if I can do a visual demonstration.
Do something. Go for it.
Yeah. So that's what the human brain looks like from the start, righto? So we're clear. You can see my fingers through it. Sorry, I don't know where the camera is. There we go. You can see it's very light. One color is much easier than two colors. So a clear brain, clarity, focus. This is how we operate. This is how we're born. But yet things start to happen to us. We'll start with joy. So we get a little bit of joy. Now, hopefully I don't spill this everywhere. As you can see, the color of my brain and my mind is still yellow. It's joy. I'm feeling upbeat. And the way you feel joy is going to be different to me. But this is where we want to be. We just want our brain to have a little tinge of yellow. We want to be feeling light. As you can see, you can still see my fingers through it. You can still make sense of it and have clarity and focus. Disgust. Maybe I've gone to the ice cream. I've got my ice cream. I'm excited. All of a sudden, my mates, I've given him my pocket money and he's given me, I know, peppermint flavor. Don't enjoy it. Disgust. My reaction's disgust. All of a sudden, this is how my mind's feeling. It's still okay. I can still see my hand through the other side. I still have clarity. I still have focus. But two emotions is much heavier than the one emotion. So we want to start to remove some of these things. Long story short, we have a fallout. We start that conflict that we were just talking about because he spent my money on the wrong ice cream flavor, Neil. I'm not happy. I got a peppermint. I wanted honeycomb. Therefore, I'm starting to feel anger. I haven't spilled any yet. We're going all right. All of a sudden, it's starting to get a little bit more hazy, yeah? And this is how the mind looks. So this is the most easiest way to explain this to anyone. This is how the mind looks. And again, if I held that up all day, that's starting to get heavy. Whereas before, when it was just clear and I had clarity and focus, I was able to behave the way I should. I was able to react the way I should because I wasn't going through disgust. I wasn't going through anger. I was just going through full clarity and focus. A little bit of tinge of yellow, a little bit of joy. Anyway, the come down from anger is always what, Neil? It's sadness. Every time we feel anger, the next stage is always sadness. There's always regret. There's always a sense of remorse. There's always, oh no, I've upset someone. I've said something nasty. Or they've said something nasty to me, and that makes me feel sad too. So blue, sadness. All of a sudden, this is what the mind starts to look like. See what's happening to us? See what's happening in terms of depression and anxiety? We're starting to feel a lot of emotion, and that emotion is getting heavy on us. And to find the clarity and find the answers in the things that we say, the things that we do, the way we behave, very, very difficult when we can't see through the other side. And right now, can you see my hands through the other side? Gone.
Yeah.
Initially, once we have anger and we feel sadness, then we go and feel purple, and that's fear. The fear of, have I done something wrong? How can I make this right? I've got to go front up to that person again. Whatever that looks like, we start to feel fear. All of our emotions coincide with one another, and this is the really important part, is that when we go through one emotion, we've got to action it. And as I said before, we want to grab it and action it before it gets to 5 emotions. And that's 5 emotions right now. However, what we have is match magic stuff. Matt's magic stuff, as you can see, it's just a tinge of yellow. But when we put Matt's magic stuff in, which is your magic stuff, Neil's magic stuff, everyone that's listening here tonight, we have the things that make us feel full of joy. You know, laughter, change our state straight away. Smiles, you put them big smiles on your face, it makes everyone feel better, instantly changes our state. Dance, movement, exercise, saying nice things, talking about our problems and our emotions, going and speaking to a teacher, speaking to our parents about the things that we experience. And when we put Matt's magic stuff, which is kindness, gratitude, compassion, empathy, love, support, care, all these beautiful things in the world, just notice what happens. All over time, I could hold this up for the next 5 minutes and we'll see what we see. I'll just take it down for another second. But this is how the human brain works. And I've run out of room in my cup for Matt's magic stuff. But this is what happens with the human brain. When we show up every single day and we've gone from having really dark. And what's easier to walk to the toilet over night time? With the lights on or the lights off? Lights on.
Yeah.
So this is the same as the human brain. All those emotions to carry all of these all the time is very dark. And it can upset us and cause a lot of other challenges and situations. So when we show up with love, empathy, connection, belonging, support, value for each other, all these things, we start to see a difference in how we can operate. All of a sudden, we're still going through some things, because we will go through some things, because sometimes it takes time to come down from some emotions. This is why it's still got a touch of green in it, still got a touch of blue in it. Yeah. But as this conversation continues, Neil, over the next 5 minutes, what we're going to see is this comes to completely back to a tinge of yellow. And I'll continue to hold this up as we continue to talk. But this is what happens when we show up. And what we need people in Australia to know is that every single person on this call, every single person on this chat, every single person in your household, out in the community, has what it takes to provide love, empathy, support, care, and compassion for the people sitting next to them or the people around them. And that's a very beautiful thing that we all possess, is to show up as our best person every single day and provide that love and care for everyone in the community. And when we see that, we will see communities of well people, of young champions realizing how beautiful they are and living the life that they were born to have, because they feel supported and they're met with kindness, compassion, empathy, love, support, and care, like I said before. And this is how we want to operate, with a tinge of yellow. Maybe there's still a tinge of green in there, but that'll go eventually. But that's what happens. So there's a quick demonstration on what it looks like to live in the human brain and how to look after our human brain. And magic stuff exists to you the same way it exists to me and every single other person listening to this now. And that's kindness, compassion, empathy, love, support, and care. I want to get to a world in which our kids are supported and know that that kid that's lonely on the playground has a mate. I want to know that our kids are walking up the street, that talking about their thoughts, feelings, and emotions, because that's a true sign of strength. That's what really matters. I want our kids to look at each other and go, hey, you having a bad day? I got your back, And right now, we're not seeing a lot of that. So we really want to change the demographic and culture around what it looks like to be well and to look after those that aren't well. We've got to stop sending people to all those professional services that are inundated with people who don't have the skill sets to look after their own wellness. We all have what it takes to look after our wellness. But it takes time, it takes effort, but also it takes great support around us. So I hope that everybody takes that away and knows that they have what it takes to make this world a better place with every single waking minute.
I mean, that's just so amazing, Matt. I mean, not just the demonstration. I didn't know you were a magician. Look at that. Fantastic.
That's
wow. But just hold that up for a second. What you're really saying, mate, is that everyone in the playground, in the workplace, anywhere, the reality is that we all have what it takes to make people feel better about themselves, to support them in their journey, and to be there for them. And you think about what school should be like. As a child, I was bullied as a child. Children that I know have experienced bullying. Wouldn't it be amazing if they actually embrace this understanding that everyone is different, no matter who they are, no matter what they're going through, and that we can add value to their life by the way we love them, by the way we support them, and by the way we connect with them. And I think that's just so much gold there, mate. Absolutely gold. And we're going to launch into a Q&A for a little bit. Like I said, if you don't get to all these questions, Matt and I will go in there after and reply. The first one I want to talk about is particularly the sudden onset of change of emotions when it comes to things like COVID. So we've got a number of questions here around, I know my son is certainly showing some new behaviours we haven't seen before because COVID. Another one, there's a lot of sadness and depressive behaviours and things like that because of what's happened. And it hasn't shown up before since COVID. What's going on, and as parents, how can we support these kids, and what can the kids do?
Yeah, again, it comes back to these things. It comes back to this. We want to be doing as much as we can to help support each other and show up every single day with love. So what we're going through right now is a really difficult time. I am just as well as equipped on what COVID looks like for all of us as you all are. We have never been through this before. Therefore, every single day is an opportunity for learning and growth. However, every single day is difficult. So it's about being gentle during this time and knowing that every single thing that's happening in your life right now, doesn't matter how young you are, how old you are, everything that's happening in our life right now is carving and crafting us into the person that we're meant to become. So a much more beautiful, more resilient person is going to come out the other side of this. We've got, resilience is only built from stress and challenges and pain. So it's through these times that if we, instead of suppress the emotion and go, COVID's really, really, really hard, really difficult, lots of negativity, we've got to start to set some boundaries and understand where we're getting all the negativity from, where we're getting all the fear from. Because, when we look on social media, this is what I see. So I'm going to remove myself from these situations. I'm going to start to hang around people that make me feel like this. I'm going to jump on a Zoom call and spend the night with Child Safe because it makes me feel like this instead of scroll on social medias. We have to start to do the things that fill us full of joy and make sure that we're prioritizing ourselves every single day to ensure our own well-being to tomorrow and every single day after that. So, talking about our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. I mean, if there's another demonstration that I can do here, these are our thoughts, feelings, and emotions. But if we don't talk about them to our parents, what happens is they blow up. So if we talk about our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, but we talk about it, and we talk about it, and we talk about it, and we talk about it, all of a sudden we live in a brain where we don't have to explode with our emotions and they don't overbear us. We can live and just start opening up and stop suppressing all the things that we go through. So, this time is really, really difficult. We just have to be gentle with one another, remain accountable to the people around us, prioritize for ourselves, like I said, and start to incorporate more of that self-care and self-love that we talk about through, gratitude, meditation, exercise, nutrition, compassion, all these beautiful things that exist to us for free.
Yeah. Well, okay, here's a quick one for you. That's amazing, by the way. A quick one for you is, what's the magic stuff in the water?
The stuff in the water is kindness, compassion, empathy, love, support, and care. We all have it.
Reality, guys, you don't get the answer. I'm sorry, you don't get the answer. I know the kids are going, oh, man, I just want to do this at home.
No, we've got plenty more where that come from, but it's a part of our primary school program and trademarked and copyrighted. So apologies.
Yep, and fair call. One of these questions is really important and very real right now. Can video games, movies, or TV have a negative impact on emotions?
Oh yeah, absolutely, of course. Screen time's got to be limited. Notifications and things are built these days to trigger our brains and trigger our emotions in ways that it shouldn't. So we should be limited to how much of this we see and do. However, I don't play the video games enough to understand what each of them do and how they work. But, as long as they're filled with the things that make us feel full of joy and they're not detrimental to our health and well-being, they're not full of conflict, they're not full of anger and violence. I mean, all these sorts of things that, we are exposed to in the world right now, but we need to limit those in these times, especially when we don't have the normal outlets and resources that we normally do to help and support or to wellness and things like that. So we want to stay in routine. We want to keep doing the things that we would in normal day without these restrictions. So, we want to be getting up and moving. We want to be eating right. All these things that I talked about. We don't want to go into survival mode and just try to get by, because getting by is where we fall backwards on the pendulum swing and the continuum to poor mental health. We want to be trying to excel and thrive through this time and use these experiences to to benefit ourselves and to build something that we never had, or to learn something new, or to educate ourselves about something else. So, that's for adults, that's for kids. There's other productive ways in which to spend our time. However, it's all about balance. And if video games and TV shows are what fills you full of joy, and they're safe and spread positivity and great messages and learnings, by all means. But there's got to be a balance with all of that. And just because it's COVID and we're restricted by movement and flow doesn't mean that we surround ourselves by all the things that we know are detrimental to our health and well-being. And for a lot of parents, and what I'm seeing right now is we don't have the time to support these kids during COVID. So therefore it's easier to throw an iPad or a video game in front of them. Whereas we know we're only setting ourselves up for challenges and problems down the track. So yeah, try and stick to a routine instructor as much as we can. And make sure that we're across everything that our kids are doing. Yeah.
So what you're also saying, yeah, absolutely. And we had Susan McLean on about when she was talking about cyber safety and pornography and a number of different things, and how the major thing is to make sure that we know exactly what our children are watching, what they're playing, and get involved with that. So it becomes a really good time rather than something that could cause them to be unsafe. And so I guess one of those things to do is, and some Maria actually put on there, does physical activity have a huge impact on behavior and mindset? And I'm guessing, yes, it does. Absolutely.
26 minutes of rigorous exercise. So rigorous meaning that we only have to elevate our heart rate. So that could be a walk with the dog. That could be anything. Go for a run. 26 minutes is all it takes. We don't have to go and do these huge workouts. We don't have to be part of fitness clubs. It's just a simple way to elevate our heart rate. And so 26 minutes of rigorous exercise a day equates to roughly about 12 hours of good positive brain health and endorphins and chemicals that flow through our system and make us a more happier version of ourselves. So, our thoughts, feelings, and emotions that we experience, we can change one of those, you change all three, and we can change one of those by flow and movement. So exercise is really, really crucial to our mind and behavioral health. So yeah, do that trade every single day. 26 minutes of rigorous exercise, really, really important. And when you're doing exercise, you're often outside. So nature, fresh air, good oxygen, blood flow. You're normally with someone else. So you're socializing and using talk therapy or laughter and smiles or getting things up and off your chest. And then there's mindfulness involved. I mean, if you're by yourself or you're out in nature, you're looking at things, you're seeing things, you're doing things, you're interacting with other people. These are all, there's 4 or 5 things I just mentioned that are tools for our self-wellness and self-love and self-care that make us feel love, belonging, and connection. So these are crucial, and they could all happen very easily just by going for a walk or a run.
Yeah, amazing. Well, we need to wrap this up in a second, but I did want to say there's many, many people that are just asking, not just a lot of questions, but also are wanting to know where they can get these resources, how can they get in touch with you, etc. Can you just repeat that for us, because they want these color cards, they want all of those sort of things. So it'd be good to just make sure they can know where to get that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a children's book on its way, and I've also got these emotional cue cards, which are culturally sensitive, which are great for kids with learning challenges or anything like that. They're available. I do have to say our website is redeveloped at the moment. We're 2 weeks off, 2 more weeks, and all this information will be up on the website, available to everyone. These cue cards will be up on the shop. However, if you email the team, admin@mindfuloz.org, or you email myself, which I think is on the rolling banner as well, and you can watch this back, of course, or contact us on Facebook or Instagram, we can get these to you immediately before the website. But we would love to come into the schools and be able to implement these programs and initiatives to these young champions so that we can create new waves of changing the way that mind and behavioral health is both perceived and treated, learning how to identify, control, and express our emotions in really positive ways. So yeah, please get in contact and let's continue to keep these conversations going and change the way it looks for the rest of these young kids, because as I said, they show us the true meaning of life. They fill us full of joy, have energy, bounce, creativity, and enthusiasm and imagination. And yet as we get older and grow up, we start to lose all that ability, so that we can really learn a lot from these kids. But let's make sure that we're filling them full of the skills and tools that they need to be the best version of themselves for as long as they can.
And absolutely. And people can go to Child Safe Australia -for Parents, which is a specific group that we've set up so that you as parents can can interact, but also can connect, and we can give you these resources and these tools and those sorts of things as well. And also you can watch this back as well. So, hey, Matt, I just want to say a massive thank you to you. You are incredible. Everyone give him a massive clapping emoji. That'd be great. You've done really great. The experience has been fantastic, and just what you've shared, I just feel like we could have been chatting for 2 hours, but obviously the kids need to run off. I do need to touch base with the parents just for 2 more minutes to let them know some pretty exciting stuff coming up. But I just want to say a massive thank you. Thank you for your input. Thank you for everything you've shared. And, I'm just really excited about how primary schools are going to be changed in the future because of your incredible programs as well.
No, thanks, Neil, and thanks to everyone watching. I know I can't see your beautiful faces, but as I said, this time is really difficult. So just remember to be gentle with yourself, keep positive, stay grateful, be kind to one another, but most importantly, continue to be kind to yourself. So big love and gratitude from me and the team at Mindful Oz.
Thanks so much, Matt. All right, so what an amazing time with Matt. We're so grateful to him. Just a couple of things. Make sure you like, you share, and you tag this live, and also go to Mindful Oz Facebook page and like that, and go into the draw to win a beanie and some cards and just some incredible products to help your children with this space. Make sure you go to Child Safe Australia -for parents and actually invite yourself to that. There's a couple of questions you need to ask. I'll admit you in there. The other thing I want to let you know is the next Facebook Live is going to be gigantic. We already have over 1,000 people saying they're going, and over 2,500 people saying that they're interested. It's going to be big. Her name is Maggie Dent. She is an incredible person, but also a guru in this kind of space. And we're going to be talking about boys and tweens and teens. And so we're going to have a discussion about raising tween and teen boys. And I'm excited because I've got a tween and a teen boy. And so I can't wait for that as well. So you can just head to the Child Safe Australia Facebook page and go to the event page. And you can make sure you like that and you're going, etc., and you can get on board. So that's September 9th, which is happening there at 4:30 p.m. Now, one last thing. I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much to you and your children. High five, air high five for you guys. And we look forward to seeing you at the next one. And we want to thank you as well for your incredible support. And as I said, you're welcome to donate to what we're doing so we can continue creating these great free Facebook Lives. Hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and take care, and see you next time.